Welcome to Talking Jazz. My guest today is bassist, composer Quinn Sternberg, and it's a real treat and kind of reconnecting to talk to him because I know him since a very long time, since a high school, and watched him grow into a wonderful career. So, hello, Quinn.
Hello, Monika.
It's good to have you. And, usually I start off asking people how they got attracted or into this art form, jazz. I remember you standing at the farmer's market and playing solo bass as a high schooler, and there was just this dedication to this is what I want to do. Tell us about it.
I started on electric bass, and I kind of grew up listening to more rock music. I guess I kind of got into jazz from the reverse method. I heard Jaco Pastorius, and I just had to learn what that was all about. Then I started hearing things that were kind of related to music I was listening to, like the RH Factor. And then I kind of wanted to go back to the earlier, I started listening to Miles and Clifford Brown and kind of took it from there. But I mean, the farmer's market, that was just a great outlet to work on some tunes and walk home with $40 and feel pretty cool.
It is, but I also think it's pretty daring as a solo bassist to do that.
I don't know if I would have now, but
that's really great. And, and of course you grew up in Bloomington, and there's so much in the environment, and you get to know what were some of the people that helped you along the way.
Yeah, I would say David Baker was a big influence for both of us, of course. He was kind of one of my early mentors, and got to be with him at the Abersald camps and work in his combos. And he was definitely one of the first people who kind of told me, like, I think you're going to do okay. There's a future in this if you keep working at it. My teachers, Ron Kadish and Jeremy Allen, were big supporters. It helped having good band programs in Bloomington with Dubinsky at Bloomington South. And nice to be in a community that fosters young musicians.
Absolutely. And how lucky you are that you got this tail end of David Baker's legacy.
I believe my class was the last one that got him in the classroom.
Wow. Yeah, you should cherish those memories. And, and if he says you're going to be all right, then you better believe it. And you obviously are. So let's dig into some of your music. We'll show you have 3 albums by now and some new things coming out. Why not start with some new things coming out? So you sent me this preview recording, and it's called Yuri Gagarin. Obviously there's something going on with space and astronauts. Tell us a bit about this tune and what's behind it.
So this is a very poorly researched historical song. I kind of started playing with the melody and these sort of shifting ungrounded rhythms, and it kind of made me think of flight or zero gravity. Started looking up early space travels and came upon Yuri's Wikipedia page and was kind of learning more about that first flight and hearing how it was a little turbulent but mostly smooth. And I was just kind of thinking about the beauty but also kind of the terror of going through that. So it's kind of supposed to emulate like a rocket going up into space, but also a person just kind of taking in the wonderment of space and also maybe being a little uneasy at times. There's little drum solo fills that's supposed to represent a bumpy flight. And that was kind of my muse for it. But it was a fun collaboration, this upcoming record, with my friend Doug Stone, who runs the jazz program at LSU, and 2 of his friends from Brazil, Marcelo Pintos and Andre Queiroz. And we kind of did this week of gigs and recording as sort of a Louisiana, Brazil connection.
That's really cool, and it's really cool to bring those different influences together. I guess we appreciate getting that little preview before it's coming out. So it's coming out in the fall, right?
October, yeah.
Okay, that's perfect timing.
So hearing it here first.
Is there a title for the album yet? What are we looking for?
Let me get back to you on that.
We'll find it, but the name of Yuri Gagarin will definitely get you some hits on the search engine. So let's get a special, unique, only for us preview of music coming out this October by Quinn Sternberg, who is my guest today. A collaboration with Doug Stone and Marcelo Pintos, and it's called Yuri Gagarin. That was Yuri Gagarin, a brand new recording to be released in October by my guest today, Quinn Sternberg, who you also heard on bass. And of course, he's the composer and writer behind this. And most of the music we're listening today was written by you, and you have a really unique style. It's complex. It's groove based. I can definitely hear the Jacko influence. It also combines, some really interesting elements from a little bit avant-garde or freedom, and then just this open space. Give us a little glimpse on what when Quinn writes in his room and comes up with some tunes.
Well, I guess my process normally, I try and make everything really melody based because I do kind of have a tendency towards these more complex elements, but I think sometimes composers can lose the song element of a piece when you just start with a really crazy chord progression or some odd times. I make sure there's at least a snippet of a melody first, and then I kind of start to harmonize it out and conceptualize the groove from there. For me, I'm really into the kind of concept of genre fluidity. Like, I want it to sound rooted in the music that came before. I also like to bring some rock influence. Definitely this next song we're going to listen to is one of my more free compositions, and I like that to be kind of an element of all the music where once I'm done composing, the musicians I play with can kind of interpret it and we can get loose with the performance.
I so agree with your fluidity concept. We actually live in a time, if you look at any collections or playlists of somebody under 30, right? You'll see like anything from any genre wildly mixed up. It's these borders between genres are definitely disappearing, and if you listen to the music of contemporary writers, it's this combination, right?
Yeah, and I think for me is how I try and make it sound fresh is not to be too deeply in any one thing, kind of picking and choosing from different influences and turning it into a Frankenstein song.
A Frankenstein song. Well, and it's crazy because honestly, these categories were artificially designed so you can put things in a bin in a record store and label it something. And since we don't have record stores and bins anymore, we're gonna lose the labels. It's about time. So the complacency device. Now that title, you'll have to explain that. What do you mean with the complacency device?
Machine that makes people not care or just accept kind of the more grim and unpleasant elements of life as fact. And it could be considered just like our phones or the internet, but you could also think of it as like a sci-fi piece with some big machine pointing lasers at however you want to interpret that. It's kind of this thing that shifts through these weird chords and turns minor into major, how I tried to materialize that in the writing. But this one, like I said, is very free compared to most of my stuff. It's just a short kind of ballad that we play a couple times. This was a fun band to do that with in the studio.
Yeah, I can see that you have your compatriots or companions that you play a lot with. Sam Taylor, saxophone, Chris Alford guitar, Brett Webb. So this is like your working band, right? And
yeah, at times we had a little bit different lineup for the most recent album, but this was like the Mind Beach band for that record, and we all kind of are in the same circle, and there's a lot of crossover with the gigs we play.
The Mind Beach record with the picture on it on the beach, and we're looking into your mind. I can see the concepts here behind it and the, imagining how you adapt to circumstances and the complacency device. So I would say let's just open up the imagery and let everybody imagine about what's going on here. Let the music speak for itself, right? So here is the complacency device from the 2019 Mind Beach album by my guest today, Quinn Sternberg. And it features Sam Taylor on saxophone, Chris Alford on the guitar, and Brad Webb on the drums. That was the Complacency Device from the 2019 release Mind Beach by my guest today, Quinn Sternberg. We were talking about your composition process and just crossing borders, crossing genre lines, talking about crossing borders. So after growing up in Bloomington, when you graduated, it was a pretty quick and immediate decision to go to New Orleans. What was your attraction to go to New Orleans?
Well, I had always levitated towards New Orleans music and kind of funkier styles. So I really wanted to, after studying kind of strictly in the jazz and straight ahead world and mostly playing upright. I kind of wanted to go to a place where I would be pushed to get electric together and kind of go to groove is born kind of. I always appreciate about New Orleans music that there's just a lot of fun to it. There's a lot of amazing music that doesn't necessarily resonate with me as much. I kind of like there to be a lightness and playfulness to the music, and you definitely get that here.
That's really interesting because, usually or most go, okay, I got to get myself to New York and, get into the hardcore jazz and prove myself and get to play with all of them. And do you ever think you should try another scenery, or are you happy, or what do you think?
I don't know if I'll be here for the rest of my life, but I'm definitely really like it here. And there's just so many amazing players who are very approachable. And it's a bit smaller, more tight-knit community. The people I work with here are high level as anyone, but more able to work with you than like moving to New York and whoever top sax player in the city. It's probably not going to get much of a reply to that. But I'd like to travel and tour more, just to get a taste of all the different scenes, even if it wasn't full immersion.
Yeah, but I think you're so right. I mean, the level of players down there is just really, really amazing. And you don't have to have the super high stressful New York living, you can walk on the streets and you can find a parking place and all that.
We don't really have a winter. That's great.
That's right. And, it's much more relaxed way of living, I would say. Cool. So I guess we'll go and listen a little bit to actually right at that transition phase, because your first album, the Weird World album, you recorded right at the end of your time here and got it out when you moved to New Orleans, and you suggested fog, which of course you should do because there's a big bass feature on this one.
Well, it's kind of nice to revisit this one because since I moved pretty much immediately after recording this album, these songs didn't get played quite as much as the stuff from the other records. And I thought it was a nice documentation of some of the friendships I had in Bloomington, and our collaborator, Josh Roberts, on drums. And, all these guys did a great job. And I think this album was kind of about nature themes, but also tying them to emotion. So I guess fog in a literal sense is just fog in the air, but it could also refer to like uncertainty or cognitive dissonance, just trying to work something out.
I love that comparison and that dual meaning. And yeah, you're right, there's a lot of nature themes on this first one and great collection of players. So let's have a listen. So this is from the 2016 release Weird World, which was recorded in Bloomington and features, of course, my guest today, Quinn Sternberg, on bass and composition, but also Pat Harbison on the trumpet and Matt Shugart on tenor sax and Jamal Batiste on the piano and Josh Roberts on the drums. That was Fog from the 2016 release Weird World by my guest today, bassist Quinn Sternberg. And we've been going back and forth between your first two releases. We'll have a little more glimpse on your second, on Mind Beach, before we get something from your latest release. Something noticeable when looking at your CDs and CD covers, other people, they put like their picture on or a nice glamour photo, and you have those whimsical pictures half drawn. Tell us a little bit about your inspiration for graphic arts.
I love conceptualizing the art, and I always kind of work with a friend or an artist that I know and just kind of come with this vague idea. So, Myers made that collage, and I just told him like a beach, but the sand is a brain. It was pretty vague, and I think he did a great job with what I gave him. But the other one, Cicada Songs, that cover has a cicada holding up musician, a marionette. And that song, I will talk about the song later, but that kind of plays into the concept of that one. But I thought the gorilla holding the world on his finger for Weird World was probably my favorite one that my friend Elliot Dietrich did. And I don't know where that one came from. I just like to have fun with them and bring some friend collaborators into it.
Oh, that's really cool, and I love the connection with art, meaning art, visual arts, and putting that together, because there's a lot in the type of expression. And again, talking about genre crossing, it gives you something where you go, well, not sure what to expect, but I'll give it a try.
And again, some reviews and for this latest record, but it's pretty funny seeing these cartoon images juxtaposed with all the other albums reviewed on these pages, pro photo shoots and whatnot.
Yeah, well, obviously I can relate. I have a husband who is in the same things. I think all our fusion albums ended up with these whimsical covers in that same conceptual mindset. So Mind Beach, it's the mind, there's the sand. Beach, look inside your mind. What should we listen for? Tell us.
So I think this song and this record, kind of the concept behind it was kind of introversion and meditation, and view your mind as this place that's very peaceful and inspiring, but also chaotic. You can get into a negative space and really spiral, or you can just a world of nation, or you go into your headspace and it can go good way or bad way. And this song is supposed to be very relaxing and peaceful, but then it gets a little more heavy as we get to the drum solo and the trading, and it kind of comes full circle with the outro being with the same theme as the intro, to symbolize that it's just in your head.
Right. And I guess, especially right now, we can relate to that. Everybody went inside for a while because we couldn't go outside, and there's a lot of things going on in everybody's head. Yeah, well, let's get a glimpse into Quinn's mind and the beach that is there, and go relax or get uptight or find your space. Either or, we can go with everybody. And that's the special thing about music too, especially instrumental music. We don't have to give the image, everybody can form it themselves and see what it evokes, the type of image. Okay, so here's Mind Beach from Mind Beach, the 2019 release by my guest today, Quinn Sternberg, and who you will hear on bass also. And again, Sam Taylor on the saxophone, Chris Alford on the guitar, and Brad Webb on the drums. That was Mind Beach, the title track from the album Mind Beach, released in 2019 by my guest today, Quinn Sternberg, who you also heard on bass. Now we're going to go to this latest album, and you know, this song, the Cicada song, actually did pretty well, talking about crossover, and got quite a bit of attention, which is interesting because, you know, it's not in your marching type of meter. It's in very much, I would say, in that fusion style or influence. That wasn't so popular either for a while. So tell us about the Cicada song and kind of how it became a little bit of a attraction here.
I'd definitely say one of my stranger pieces. It came to be my sax player and I, Sam, visited our friend Trey one night in kind of rural Louisiana, and we're hanging out on his porch, and I heard weird rhythm that cicadas were singing just over and over again. And I started counting it out, realized that it was in kind of an approximate 7/4 meter, little voice memo of the exact thing they were playing, and I just thought, like, this could be a song. You know, so I think part of what helped this song gain a little attention was just pitch that narrative. I think blogged that was kind of a cool origin story for the track. Yeah, the instruments kind of mimic the cicada. There's a lot of interlocking stuff that's supposed to kind of represent the one maybe closer and the ones that were farther away.
Right, and we just had that cycle of the cicadas.
Felt like a good time for cicada representation.
It was pretty crazy, the noise level that we had of just them all singing together and constant.
And, you know, we didn't get it nearly as much in Louisiana. So I was a little jealous not to. I know everyone in Bloomington probably got tired of it by the end, but I would have liked to see a few more of the chirping around.
Yeah, we had a good dose. And I guess we should also point out, you know, now talking about 7 and counting it out, I believe your dad is a math professor?
He is.
See, there is some counting in your background. That's what I thought.
Oh, if he can play in 7, but he can definitely count to it.
You know, 7, it's not unheard of. You know, Pink Floyd's Money got a hit in 7, so. One
of the more popular odd time signatures these days, at least.
Yeah, and I love, you know, you already explained earlier how you started on the electric bass, so definitely the whole Chaco thing in that era is coming in there. Tell us actually who's playing on this. I didn't write it down, so you need to help me announce who are the players on that song.
So this is Peter Varnado on drums, Oscar Rossignoli on piano, Sam Taylor on saxophone, and Charlie Ballantyne came down from Indianapolis for this one.
Very cool. More school visitors and friends. Cool. All right, let's have a listen to the Cicada song, the recent release from my guest today, bassist Quinn Sternberg. That was the Cicada song, the Cicada singing in 7, as they did recently. And this is composed and from the recent release by my guest today, Quinn Sternberg. We got one last one, and I dug one out actually that makes a common connection. Your graduation present was a trip to Europe, and we combined it because we were recording at that time at a studio in Europe, and we had these tracks by Bob Berg, who has, as we know, passed away in the early 2000s, but we still had them, and we dug them back out and said, okay, we can play better and help Bob sound better. And we recorded a bunch of these tracks, and it ended up quite an adventure. We went to Cologne, we stopped in Berlin, we were hanging out in Austria. I want to hear some of your favorite moments from the trips or recollections.
Oh, man. I mean, that was such a great adventure, and it was a cool format because I remember we toured for about a week. I kind of went on this 2-week Eurail adventure while you were teaching. It was so cool to kind of just hop around at Prague, Budapest, and just such a nice bookend. You know, was it 4 sax players we brought in for those tracks?
We brought in 3, and then another one was overdubbing, but yeah, it was a very cool thing. Well, and the soccer, I think the World Cup was going on, right? You guys had some viewing in Paris.
Big TV screen under the Eiffel Tower. I remember one moment when Josh and I were blocking someone's view, and because we were too tall, and they yelled at us, and I think Josh said, like, so we don't speak French. And then everyone around was like, they don't speak French. It was really cool. And I remember the overdubbing the Bob Berg tracks. I remember being a really interesting process because we kind of had to go make sort of metronome tracks that worked with the fluctuations from the other album and kind of play along to this off-kilter metronome. It was an interesting challenge. Really fun.
It was. So actually, yeah, so this track that we're going to listen to, Paul's Vesper, what we did is we extracted Bob Berg's playing, but which means the drums went away. So Josh had to sit down and just click along, make a metronome track that fit what Bob was playing, and then we played on the click track that Josh created for it, because when we went in the studio in the late 90s, we did not have a click track with it and at all. But you know, I think it worked out really well. That whole album, and it's only available actually on LP through Flavor Tune to be ordered, but that whole album just has some really, really, really cool tracks, and of course, you know, something that we can never recreate because we lost Bob Berg to have some of these recordings. Thank you for sharing your music and your adventures, and hopefully we can go on some grand adventures again. Who knows? Life always goes in circles. So thanks for hanging with us, and good luck with the new album. We'll be watching for it.
Quinn Sternberg Music.
Quinn Sternberg Music. Quinn with 2 N's and then sternbergmusic.com. All right, so here is a track called Paul's Vesper Schnell from the 2017 release, The Time Flies, on Flavor Tune, available on LP, and more info at acmerecords.com. Here we go. Thank you for listening to Talking Jazz. My guest today was bassist composer Quinn Sternberg. You can hear Talking Jazz every Thursday at 11 a.m. and Mondays at 7 p.m. on WETF 105.7 in South Bend, Indiana, or online at jazzradiowetf.org, and Fridays at 8 p.m. on WICR 88.7 Indianapolis. Previous shows are also on my YouTube channel, Monika Herzig, MonikaHerzig. Please subscribe to the Talking Jazz playlist. Thank you for listening.